A man entombed within a desolate cave attained the cultivation of a lifetime, but the moment he tasted the sun's rays once more, his singular focus was to slaughter the very master who had forged him into a weapon. For what was disguised as divine training to save the world was merely a sinister plot to use them as pawns against the Sky Demon Order, a name that commands absolute terror. A legend has whispered through the shadows of the martial arts world for generations. It speaks of a hidden grotto on Mount Hyen, concealing not only the forbidden arts of the realm's greatest eccentric, the Moon Shadow Recluse, but also a secret treasure he left behind. Lured by the promise of power, factions from every corner of the land converged on Mount Hyen, and a new era of bloodshed silently ignited. In that instant, accompanied by the thunderous roar of sword light, a towering mountain peak was sliced clean through with surgical precision. In the pulsing heartbeat of a second, as the billowing dust settled, a cavernous maw was revealed at the mountain's base. A solitary figure slowly emerged from the depths of the abyss. The man gripped the naked blade in his hand. He couldn't suppress a low, jagged murmur. "I'm finally free. So, but the sky truly is blue." Yet, no matter how deep he delved, he couldn't recall the day he entered that living tomb. Was his memory fractured by the sheer force of his escape? Driven by a scorching hatred, he vowed to reclaim his shattered past. His oldest memory flickered to life at age 10. "I am the Moon Shadow Recluse. You are too young to understand. But in 15 years, you will be the saviors of this world." On that fateful day, the recluse gathered 100 orphans, and Hyen was among the chosen. Even now, he could feel those eyes, cold enough to pierce through bone and freeze the marrow. "Your only purpose is to execute my commands without question. And for those fools dreaming of flight, the entrance is sealed with impenetrable boulders. If an outsider dared to breach this sanctuary, it would be a catastrophe, wouldn't it?" Thus began the brutal indoctrination in the name of salvation, from the way they swallowed food to the way they drew breath. Every microscopic movement was choreographed by the iron will of the Moon Shadow Recluse. Their first lesson was the 3 talents Qigong, an art capable of devouring the essence of heaven, earth, and man simultaneously. Next came the lethal elegance of the 3 talents sword style. And finally, the elusive 3 talents footwork. 3 years into their purgatory, the Moon Shadow Recluse summoned them once more. "The martial arts I have bestowed upon you are the keys to the realm of the martial god. In the final 7 years, you will temper them into perfection. Now, breach that door and enter. To survive the coming apocalypse, your evolution must never falter. Ascend within the darkness." They obeyed, disappearing into the void. Initially, a spectral mist shrouded the cave, chilling them to the core. But they soon realized it was pure, condensed qi. Under its influence, their powers surged at a terrifying rate. However, as their auras turned monstrous, the gates of hell were forced wide. From that point on, they plunged into a savage struggle for survival that spanned a decade. Though the arts granted by the recluse were a quantum leap beyond mortal comprehension. In the end, only one survivor clawed his way out. That man was Hyen. Afterward, Hyen drifted into a local tavern. His presence immediately drew the gaze of a young noblewoman, the daughter of the Zhao family manor, Zhao Tuet Lam. "Brother, look at that man. He wields a sword, yet it lacks even a simple scabbard." Zhao Hyen also found the sight unsettling, even though the blade itself radiated an extraordinary, lethal aura. Moments later, a steaming bowl of noodles was set before Hyen. He drifted into a trance. How many lifetimes had passed since he'd tasted a meal that wasn't ash and blood? The warmth was so intoxicating it felt as though his very soul was beginning to thaw. On the far side of the room, Zhao Tuet Lam couldn't tear her eyes away. Why was she so captivated by this mysterious stranger? When he finished, the waiter loomed over him. "Sir, that'll be 5 coins. Hearing this, Hyen suddenly stiffened. He had completely forgotten that in this world, survival had a price tag. The waiter's tone remained strained but polite. "Surely you're not joking, sir. If you feast, you must pay the toll." But when Hyen looked him in the eye and confessed he possessed nothing, the waiter's patience snapped like a dry twig. "Then surrender that blade at your hip to settle the debt." Hyen refused with chilling finality. "This sword was forged from the lives of my brothers. So you intended to be a common thief from the start." The waiter roared. Suddenly, a slender, jade-like hand intervened, clutching a coin purse. It was Zhao Tuet Lam. "I will settle his account." After the tension subsided, Hyen slowly approached his benefactor. He struggled to speak, but the simple language of men felt foreign and heavy on his tongue. In the end, he merely turned in silence and vanished from the tavern. Watching Hyen's retreating shadow, Zhao Tuet Lam finally realized what haunted her. His eyes. They are like a child witnessing the birth of the world. However, Zhao Nan dismissed her concerns, scoffing that the man couldn't even muster a word of gratitude and was likely just a shameless drifter or a common beggar. Furthermore, he added, that man doesn't seem to possess a single spark of internal energy. Nevertheless, that blade is undeniably a masterpiece of slaughter. At that realization, Zhao Tuet Lam's expression shifted into one of grave concern. That is undeniably a legendary blade. Brandishing such a weapon without a scabbard is a blatant invitation to disaster. I must pursue him and ensure his safety. I cannot simply abandon him. He desperately requires a sheath. Her brother immediately intervened, warning that she knew nothing of the stranger and that her benevolence would be squandered on such a boorish vagrant. Zhao Tuet Lam attempted to protest, but the head escort of the Zhao family manor cut her off, siding with Zhao Nan. Deserting the main caravan now would be suicide, especially with the imminent arrival of the alliance leader. Silenced by the head escort's authority, Zhao Tuet Lam had no choice but to yield. As the shadows of twilight deepened, the tavern began to overflow with warriors and wanderers. The sheer reach and authority of the martial arts alliance were truly breathtaking. The head escort suspected the sudden congestion was due to the arrival of the Sand Dune Union and the notorious Green Forest faction at the base of Mount Hyen. However, he knew the true magnet drawing these wolves was a singular name. The Moon Shadow Recluse, the most enigmatic genius in martial history, was legendary for his peerless talent and his mastery over lethal mechanisms and mystical formations. In his twilight years, he forged the Toad Shadow Blade, a technique that sent shockwaves through the entire martial world. Later, he utilized the secret fusion of mechanical ingenuity and energy formations to transmit his legacy to a wandering swordsman, birthing a peerless master in a mere 3 years. Though that swordsman was ultimately branded a public enemy and met a gruesome end, the scandal only served to cement the Moon Shadow Recluse's mythic status. Countless sects scoured the land for him, but he vanished like a phantom. Now that the Zhao family manor had unearthed a treasure map detailing his hidden techniques, it was only natural for the entire world to fix its predatory gaze upon them. Reflecting on the stakes, he reminded them that he was bound by the lord of the Zhao manor to protect them, making a direct assault unlikely. Yet, they had to remain hypervigilant. The world is a den of serpents. Meanwhile, Hyen Vu remained haunted by a single lingering thought. Since she had extended a helping hand, he felt a flicker of duty to return and offer her his proper gratitude. Suddenly, a jagged fragment of memory tore through his mind. Hyen Vu, we're escaping this hell. And when we do, we'll taste all the joys we were robbed of. Promise me one thing. If I fall, go to my home in my stead. Tell my father the truth. I refuse. We leave together, and you will tell him yourself. But fate is a cruel mistress. During a savage skirmish against a horde of abominations, a gore-stained, gaping maw lunged at Hyen Vu from his blind spot. In that heartbeat, Yakan threw himself forward, intercepting the lethal strike. Watching his brother's life hemorrhage away, Hyen Vu let out a primal, soul-shattering roar. Why? Why did you throw your life away for mine? Get up. You swore you'd return to your father. You were the strongest, the most resilient among us. You must survive. Tell my father his son failed his duty. Recalling those dying words, Hyen Vu's heart hardened into cold steel. He would make the Moon Shadow Recluse pay this debt in blood and bone. After drifting aimlessly, Hyen Vu found himself back at the tavern, guided by instinct. The girl was still there. He realized he still owed her a debt of thanks. But before he could cross the threshold, a surge of warriors erupted from the main gates. Maintain the phalanx. Tonight, we fulfill the mission ordained by the alliance leader. Hyen Vu turned toward the commotion and spotted Zhao Tuet Lam caught in the middle of the march. He tracked their trajectory, trailing them from the shadows. He shadowed them until they halted at the treacherous mouth of Mount Hyen. Are they invading the very tomb he just crawled out of? And another pack of wolves is stalking them. What kind of madness are they plotting? Simultaneously, the alliance leader, Zhao Koyan, was whispering with his strategist. The Sand Dune Union and the Green Forest faction have moved. Could they be hunting our prize? The strategist signaled a calm denial. He assured the leader there was no cause for alarm. According to his spies, those rival forces were moving in completely opposite directions. Zhao Koyan exhaled a long, tense breath. Perhaps my nerves are getting the better of me. After advancing further into the brush, a man abruptly obstructed Zhao Tuet Lam's path. It was Peon Chanayan, the vice hall master of the Flying Dragon Hall. Miss Zhao, you look exhausted. Shall I suggest to the alliance leader that we make camp? Before Zhao Tuet Lam could utter a word, Zhao Nan snapped back. Don't trouble yourself, Hall Master Peon. We are perfectly capable of continuing. Suddenly, lethal shadows lunged from the thickets. We found you at last. Reacting with lightning speed, Zhao Koyan roared for his men to take up defensive formations. The brigands of Small Evil Mountain, led by the ruthless Hyo Suri White, were a formidable threat. The strategist whispered urgently, "It seems the Sand Dune Union has also joined the slaughter." The two factions collided in a storm of steel. After carving through a dozen lackeys, Hyo Suri White leveled his blade at Zhao Koyun's throat. As their steel clashed, Zhao Koyun scanned the carnage. "Curse it, we'll be buried under their sheer numbers." Hyo Suri White erupted into a maniacal, bloodthirsty cackle. "The forbidden secrets of the Moon Shadow Recluse belong to us today." The moment that name reached Tuen Huyen Vu, his entire being turned to ice. With a violent flick of his wrist, he launched a cluster of stones into the air, then delivered a strike that pulverized them into 1,000 deadly shards. The fragments whistled through the air like shrapnel, decimating the Green Forest faction's front lines. "Tell me, where's the Moon Shadow Recluse?" The battlefield plummeted into a horrific, breathless silence. Even Zhao Koyun was visibly rattled. Where did this monster come from? I didn't sense a ripple of his presence. The head escort was the first to find his voice. "We thank you, young master, for your timely intervention. However, regarding the Moon Shadow Recluse, that he perished 15 years ago." Hearing those words, Tuen Huyen Vu was hollowed out by a crushing sense of futility. He hadn't even begun to avenge his fallen brothers, and his target was already rotting in the earth. At that thought, an aura of absolute void began to bleed from his body, suffocating the air in an instant. The warriors who breathed it and felt their vital energy being siphoned away into nothingness. Zhao Koyun's eyes bulged as he felt his own pulse faltering. Is this the legendary Void Chi? If he continues, the entire alliance will suffer a total internal collapse. We must slay him before he consumes us all. Just as Zhao Koyun prepared to strike, Zhao Tuet Lam fearlessly stepped into the void. "Hey, are you all right?" The moment Tuen Huyen Vu's eyes met hers, a memory flickered. He had pursued the only person who had shown him a shred of kindness. It was a debt of gratitude he was bound to pay. Was it not the sacrifice of your brothers that allowed you to survive? If the Moon Shadow Recluse has already perished and vengeance is a hollow dream, isn't it time to honor their final wish? As Tuen Huyen Vu suppressed his void chi, the suffocating pressure lifted and the martial artist finally drew breath. Zhao Koyan narrowed his eyes in suspicion. Even legendary masters struggle to harness such a terrifying aura. Who is this man? Zhao Tuet Lam stepped forward once more. Her voice was a soft, calming melody. Are you searching for someone? Before Tuen Huyen Vu could find his words, she pivoted toward the head escort. He is our savior. Could he travel amongst us until he finds the one he seeks? The head escort wavered, scanning the blood-soaked battlefield. Denying their benefactor was difficult, but just moments ago, the entire alliance had nearly been crushed by that overwhelming presence. Would the alliance leader truly tolerate such a wild card? Zhao Koyun was silently calculating the odds. This stranger had decimated the Green Forest and Sand Dune warriors in a heartbeat. He was a walking calamity. Yet, with their ranks thinned, letting such a monster roam free was far more dangerous than keeping him under a watchful eye. Finally, Zhao Koyun gave a sharp nod of approval. Seizing the moment, the head escort immediately extended a formal invitation. "Young master, would you care to lend your blade to our Hyen escort agency?" Observing Hyen Vu's pensive silence, Zhao Nen let out a mocking sneer. The Hyen escort agency isn't some charity for every nameless drifter. You aren't foolish enough to decline, are you? Tuen Huyen Vu blinked in genuine bewilderment. I would answer, but I haven't the slightest clue what an escort agency is. The group stood frozen in shock. Allow me, she said, quickly masking her surprise. An escort agency is an organization that transports precious cargo and ensures the safety of clients for a fee. A short-haired warrior behind them hissed under his breath. What is this nonsense? What backwater cave did this barbarian crawl out of? Meanwhile, Bion Chulyong's eyes were locked onto Tuen Huyen Vu's sword. The frigid, lethal intent pulsating from the steel was proof of its legendary quality. How could such a masterpiece be held by a complete nobody? The short-haired man noticed his fixation and scowled. A blade of that caliber demands a worthy master. Bion Chulyong made a cold, silent pact with himself. There are too many witnesses now. Once the alliance leader enters Mount Hyen, we strike. After navigating the rugged terrain, the expedition finally reached the heart of Mount Hyen. However, despite a relentless search, the fabled entrance to the hidden cave remained a mystery. The strategist proposed a radical solution. demolishing the mountainside with explosives, Zhao Kun Hizituitik, and risk vaporizing the moon shadow recluse's secret manuals? Hyen Vu watched the futile effort in silence. The tunnel he had used to escape had long since caved in. They were searching for the original gateway. Suddenly, a faint, hauntingly familiar resonance brushed against his senses, the unmistakable aura of the moon shadow recluse. There, it is over there. In a blur of motion, he leaped upward, sticking to the sheer, vertical cliff face. The entrance is here. Zhao Koyun gaped at him in pure disbelief. You, how could you possibly know this location? Because I spent my life within these walls. Byong Chulyong let out a derisive snort. So, he's nothing more than a mountain savage. No wonder he lacks even proper scabbard. Zhao Koyun snapped back into command mode. I shall enter with the strategist and the hall masters of Azure and Soaring Dragon. The Black Tortoise Hall will secure the perimeter. He then placed a firm hand on Hyen Vu's shoulder. From this point, we take charge. Do not interfere. Hyen Vu considered the demand. With the recluse dead, he had no reason to stay. The ghosts of this place no longer held sway over him. Zhao Tuet Lam rushed to his side. Her eyes were wide with wonder. You truly lived inside the mountain? Hyen Vu offered a subtle nod. Just as he prepared to elaborate, Byong Chulyong and the short-haired thug stepped forward, cutting her off. The short-haired man smirked maliciously. Who's to say he isn't a sleeper agent for the Green Force faction? Are you blind? He literally saved our lives from them. Perhaps it was all an elaborate performance. If your hands are clean, surrender that sword for safekeeping. It's only fair, right? As he spoke, his greedy eyes devoured the blade. Up close, its lethal radiance was undeniable. Hyen Vu slowly gripped the hilt. This sword carries the soul of a fallen comrade. I will not surrender it until my heart stops beating. Seeing that words were useless, the two men shifted into aggressive stances. Hyen Vu had already dissected their tactics. One moved to seal his escape, while the other applied frontal pressure, a textbook pincer strike. Just as the air was about to explode into violence, Zhao Koyun's authoritative roar echoed from the cave. I ordered you to guard the perimeter. What is this insolence? Byong Chulyong and his crony instantly sheathed their steel. Alliance leader, did you unearth the secret treasure? Zhao Koyun offered no reply. Instead, his face was a mask of grim frustration as he ordered an immediate withdrawal. Consider this a reprieve. We will meet again. As the group moved out, Zhao Tuet Lam hurried back. Are you unharmed? After seeing he was untouched, she let out a long, shaky breath. Thank goodness. I was truly worried about you. I just realized we haven't even exchanged names. I am Zhao Tuet Lam. Hyen Vu, a strong name. Gulme, it's time we leave this place behind. And so, the Martial Arts Alliance's frantic hunt for the Moon Shadow Recluse's legacy came to a bitter, hollow conclusion. But as they descended, whispers of the event began to spread like wildfire across the land. The world was about to learn that a new power had emerged from the mountain. Rumors claim the Martial Arts Alliance has seized the Moon Shadow Recluse's ultimate legacy, making their total conquest of the realm inevitable. As the whispers intensified, Zhao Koyun's anxiety spiked. Even if I declare the vault was empty, the world will brand me a liar. The High Elders could only offer heavy sighs. The misinformation had already spread like wildfire from Mount Hyen, engulfing the entire Hubei province. They alone knew the bitter truth. The legendary cave held nothing but a meager wooden box and a single, cryptic letter. But the contents of that missive were a riddle wrapped in an enigma. The scion of the blood demon is a blight upon the heavens, destined to drown the world in a sea of gore. To thwart his ascension, I have forged 100 peerless killing machines. You must wield these blades with precision to ensure the blood demon's lineage is severed forever. To bind these 100 masters to your will, you must utilize the yin-yang parasite secured within this casket. Blood demon, I will never permit your dark ambition to bear fruit. Finishing the letter, Zhao Koyun pried open the box, only to discover a solitary spherical vessel containing a lone, pulsing parasite. There was no sign of the legendary yin-yang swarm, nor any trace of the promised army of masters. How much of the recluse's final testament was truth, and how much was a madman's delusion? The strategist, however, was haunted by a far more chilling prospect, the shadow of a hidden puppet master orchestrating their downfall. Zhao Koyun signaled his grim agreement. Back at the mountain, I sensed the Green Force faction wasn't hunting for scrolls. Their blades were sharpened specifically for the hearts of the Alliance. By the time we breached the site, survivors were non-existent, and even the fallen had been scrubbed from the earth. Now, the streets are screaming our names. Someone is painting a massive target on our backs. The elders stood paralyzed by the revelation. who possesses the malice to pull the strings of the entire martial world. The strategist narrowed his eyes. Our first step must be to squeeze the truth from the head of the Zhao family, the man who provided the map in the first place. Even if the lord of the manor wears a mask of innocence, who's to say a traitor isn't nesting within his inner circle? Zhao Koyun's gaze turned cold. We must dispatch a shadow to infiltrate the Zhao manor. Even if they aren't the head of the beast, they are surely one of its talents. Meanwhile, Zhao Tuet Lam and her retinue finally arrived at the gates of the Zhao manor. Catching sight of the splintered, groaning scabbard at Tuen Huyen Vu's side, Tuet Lam bit her lip in visible frustration. It seems even the most exquisite sheath is a mere toy against a blade of such savage purity. No sooner had the words left her mouth. The wood gave way entirely, shattering into a spray of splinters. Aghast at the sight, Tuet Lam rushed to his side, her voice trembling. Forgive me. I was a fool to think I could contain your weapon with such common craft. The instant that apology hit his ears, Tuen Huyen Vu was violently pulled back to the moment Iakaji's life slipped through his fingers. His brother had gasped those same words while bleeding out. Why did the dying always feel the need to ask for forgiveness? Bear your apologies. I have heard enough of those hollow words to last a lifetime. Tuet Lam recoiled, stung by the sudden frost in his voice. Before the silence could linger, the head escort bellowed, Huyen Vu, front and center. Watching the swordsman walk away, Tuet Lam felt a hollow ache in her chest. Did I unknowingly cross a line? Shortly after, the head escort led Tuen Huyen Vu into the heart of the Hyen escort agency. As they navigated the courtyard, Huyen Vu's eyes dissected everything. So these were the famed porters. In reality, they were just pack mules in human skin, burdened with the world's cargo. The head escort barked. Dong Xion, I brought you a fresh mule. Break him in and see if he's worth his salt. Consider it done. Zhang Xian replied with a jagged grin. The head escort added a final warning. The lad is a bit prickly, but he's not the type to start a riot without cause. As the senior officer vanished, a predatory smirk crept onto Zhang Xian's face. I don't care who sponsored your entry. Every maggot needs a proper introduction to the dirt. Tuen Huyen Vu's first assessment cut through the air like a knife. You possess a degree of strength, but your proportions are stunted. Your physique is a joke. Dong Xion's face turned purple with rage. You want to be buried on your first day? Huyen Vu's hand ghosted toward his hilt as his killer instinct flared. Should I end him now? Dong Xion spotted the movement. A porter with a sword? How cute. Hand over the steel now. Tuen Huyen Vu's refusal was a wall of ice. A flash of lethal intent ignited in his pupils, causing sweat to erupt on Dong Xion's brow. Fine. We'll call that a draw for today. The surrounding workers couldn't hide their derisive snickers. The local bully, Dong Xion, had actually flinched the moment he stared into the newcomer's abyss. Zhang Xian was boiling inside, yet the fear kept his hand stayed. Rookie, move it. The barracks are this way. His bravado had withered into a forced grumble. But the poison of humiliation was already festering. Enjoy your victory for now. I'll make sure you choke on this insult later. As the clock struck midnight, Zhang Xian slunk out of his bunk like a viper. He began prowling through the darkness, searching for Tuen Huyen Vu's position. Suddenly, he slammed into a solid, unyielding mass. What the hell? Since when did they install a pillar in the middle of the room? He looked up, his blood turning to ice. It wasn't a pillar. It was Tuen Huyen Vu, standing tall in the dead of night. Zhang Yun scrambled back, his heart hammering. Why the hell are you awake? Have you been standing there the whole time? But Huyen Vu remained a statue. His eyes were shut tight, his body a silent monument of discipline. Yungyun's brow furrowed in disbelief. Is this freak actually sleeping on his feet? Desire overcame his fear as he reached for the legendary blade at Huyen Vu's hip. But Huyen Vu's eyes snapped open like a predator's. Dong Xion froze mid-motion, his breath hitching in his throat. The moment lasted only a heartbeat, but the sheer, primitive terror that washed over him was paralyzing. In that fleeting instant, he felt the razor-sharp edge of death press against his jugular. In truth, it was nothing more than a manifestation of his own paralyzing fear. Even so, he scrambled back to his bunk, his entire frame racked with tremors. The terror he felt was merely the unconscious pressure of Tuen Huyen Vu's protective chi. It wasn't as if Huyen Vu slept upright by choice. Through those agonizing years trapped in the abyss, whether he was eating, resting, or in a deep slumber, he had to maintain a state of absolute readiness. Eventually, he mastered the art of sleeping, standing up while circulating his internal energy. At dawn, Tuen Huyen Vu was the first to stir. He approached Zhang Xian with a calm demeanor. Excuse me, before the sentence finished. Zhang Xian bolted from the barracks like a man pursued by a demon. The rest of the crew began to wake, groggy and unaware. A mountain of labor awaited them, but no porter was prepared for the spectacle that followed. With a series of fluid, effortless motions, Twin Hyen Vu had single-handedly organized the massive crates of cargo onto the wooden transport carts. This new recruit is a monster. If he keeps this up, there won't be any work left for us. Amidst their whispers, a graceful figure appeared. It was Zhao Tuet Lam. Ms. Zhao, what brings you here? How can I stay away? After hearing his chilling demand, that she never say I'm sorry again. How could she not be plagued by worry? Her heart was in such a state of unrest that she had come personally just to find an answer. As she stood lost in her anxiety, Hyen Vu suddenly stepped directly into her field of vision. Startled, a blush painted Zhao Tuet Lam's cheeks as she blurted out, Hyen Vu Guji. Horrified by her own slip of the tongue, she scrambled to change the subject. Are you adjusting well? I hope nobody here is giving you a hard time. And, tell me, what are your likes and dislikes? The moment it left her lips, she cringed. What has come over me today? Hyen Vu replied with haunting clarity, I value peace. I despise it when that peace is shattered. And I never want to hear my friends offer me an apology. Zhao Tuet Lam's face instantly radiated joy. Oh, he truly considers me a friend. I swear, I'll never utter those words again. Just then, the rhythmic thud of approaching hooves broke the moment. Talk about bad timing. It has been far too long, Miss Zhao. You've grown into a breathtaking beauty. It was Byong Chulyong, the arrogant vice hall master of the Soaring Dragon Hall. Hall master, surely the Alliance has more pressing matters. Why are you here? I am here on official decree from the Martial Arts Alliance. The Alliance leader has pledged his full support to the Hyen escort agency. During the exchange, Byong Chulyong's eyes landed on a familiar face. Huh, the world is a small place for a rat to hide. Alodi porteur brandishing a sword? How pathetic. If you lack the power to master a weapon, you shouldn't touch it at all. Zhao Tuet Lam fought to remain composed. The Soaring Dragon Hall was the arm of the Alliance. A public spat would be disastrous. Hyen Vu Guji, why don't you focus on your duties for now? Byong Chulyong's expression soured. She called him Guji. Watching from the sidelines, his sister, Byong Mylam, saw the truth. Her brother hadn't rushed here out of duty to the Alliance leader. It was a pathetic attempt to court Miss Zhao. Suddenly, a coarse voice interrupted the tension. You must be the one they call Hyen Vu. Ah, the young lady is present as well. Iam Hung Bao, an net got wathio. By the agency leader's command, I am to mentor this rookie for the upcoming mission. Zhao Tuet Lam's brow furrowed with concern. He's barely started, and you're already throwing him into a live escort mission? Byong Chulyong, however, wore a smug grin. Perfect. With that brat out on the road, it was the golden opportunity to sink his claws into Tuet Lam. Well, don't just stand there, Porter. The real warriors are waiting, aren't they? Byong Mylam let out a weary sigh. Even as a vice hall master, her brother's petty jealousy was embarrassing. Yet, Hyen Vu remained utterly unfazed by the taunt. Was that blade purely decorative, or did he simply not care? Hyen Vu chose to follow Hung Bao, who couldn't help but dwell on the leader's cryptic warning. Keep a tight leash on Hyen Vu. Don't let him cause a bloodbath on the road. At the time, Hung Bao dismissed it as hyperbole, but standing before the man, he felt a strange dissonance. Living as a hermit might explain social awkwardness, but for a common laborer, where did he find the audacity to carry a weapon of war? Unable to contain his skepticism, he voiced his doubts. Brother Hyen Vu, do you actually practice the way of the sword? The moment Hung Bao heard the name Three-Talent Sword Style, he internally scoffed. So, he's just another amateur dreamer who thinks carrying a sword makes him an escort. The 3 talents might be the foundation, but in the chaos of a real fight, it's practically useless. Unsheathing his own blade, he challenged, show me what this 3-talent style can actually do. Hyen Vu's eyes sharpened instantly. Are you saying you intend to kill me? Hung Bao frantically waved his hands. I'm talking about a spar, you fool. To test your mettle. Hyen Vu paused, weighing the man's skill, before stating flatly, it's unnecessary, because I am much stronger than you. Hung Bao stood paralyzed in shock for a second before erupting into boisterous laughter. I've spent my entire life honing my craft. How can a boy who just picked up a blade hope to compare? Still, I admire your misplaced confidence. Let me teach you what true power looks like. Before he could strike, Hyen Vu extended his palm, tracing invisible arcs through the air with disturbing precision. Hung Bao stai, gom leten biwi. What kind of madness is this? This is the first time I've ever had to hold back. I need to calculate exactly how much strength to withhold so I don't accidentally kill you. Hung Bao fell into a stunned silence. So, that was the true depth of the agency leader's warning. In that case, I'll have to show you the difference between a novice and a master. As Hung Bao lunged forward, Hyen Vu's eyes dissected every minute detail of his trajectory. If I truly wished to spare him, a single, controlled frontal impact should suffice. With a flick of his wrist, he drew his blade and slammed it into the earth. No steel touched Hung Bao, yet a devastating shockwave sent him spiraling backward. Breathless and dazed, Hung Bao gasped. What kind of monstrous technique was that? A mere fragment of the three talents sword style. A sequence I call Heavenly Thunder. Hung Bao Shavao Fu Dao. He claimed it was the foundational three-talent style, but the execution was beyond mortal limits. That concentrated sword, intent felt like a divine bolt striking from the heavens. Is this man a hidden grandmaster? Did the head escort foresee this all along? Hyen Vu spoke with a flat, matter-of-fact tone. Did I not state that I am the strongest? Hung Bao found the bluntness both exasperating and bizarrely amusing. In stark contrast to his world-shattering power, Hyen Vu possessed a naivety that was almost childlike. Before reporting to the head escort, the most pressing task was clear: teaching this lethal youth the basic rules of human society. Discard that mindset. Hung Bao offered a steady hand. I made my choice. I won't teach you how to fight. I'll teach you how to live. Hyen Vu stared at the hand, his reaction delayed by years of isolation. Hung Bao didn't miss a beat, delivering his first lesson in humanity on the spot. In this world, assisting a fallen opponent is a fundamental act of etiquette. Thus, Hyen Vu moved into the residence of the warrior Hung Bao, beginning his arduous journey to reclaim the social morals that he had lost in the darkness of the cave. During his training, a pair of watchful eyes tracked his every move from the shadows. She replayed the Alliance leader's command: monitor the Zhao Manor for any scent of treason. If the Green Forest slaughter at Mount Hyen was orchestrated by them, she was the one who would find the evidence. Yet, after Biong Mai Lam's tireless surveillance, the manor seemed clean. Instead, it was that enigmatic, hot-headed youth who commanded all her attention. Soon, the day of the mission arrived. Following a thunderous morale-boosting speech by the head escort, the caravan, led by the veteran head escort Ma, departed in flawless formation. Meanwhile, in the murky depths of the Green Forest bandits' lair, a chilling voice resonated from behind a crimson veil. My heaven-slaying squad, all 30 elites, erased from existence. It was my incompetence. I failed to identify the executioner. Before the apology could finish, a monstrous hand erupted from behind the curtain. With a casual flick, grotesque, broken corpses were tossed like refuse into the air. They were all slaughtered by the same blade. As expected of the moon shadow recluse, crafting 100 freaks. But tell me, how long can such toys survive against me? Blood Demon, I await our reunion with great interest. With those words, the Blood Demon issued a cold decree: scour the land. Exterminate every soul present on that battlefield. Back at the Zhao family manor, the elite soaring dragon hall of the Alliance arrived to pay their respects. Lord Zhao Nahuen ushered them into his study with haste. You must be Dao Long, the famed twin dragon of the soaring dragon hall. The Lord overestimates me. I am Bang Chulyong, and the man, at your side, must be the renowned Kim Long. A privilege to meet you, Lord. Am Nam Kung Kiem. As Nam Kung Kim bowed, a sharper voice cut through. I am Dao Long's sister, Bao Mai Lam, not Hwen's. Smile took on a deeper, more calculated meaning. The Biong family was a titan of a bay. Given her elegance and lineage, she might be the perfect match to elevate his son's future. With that thought, he raised his tea in a silent toast. I hope you will grace my sons with a few lessons during your stay. After leaving the study, Biong Mai Lam sighed at her brother's flushed, love-struck face. They were on a high-stakes espionage mission. Yet her brother's intellect had been completely hijacked by his infatuation with the young lady. However, her observation revealed a harsh truth. The lady didn't spare her brother a single glance, her eyes fixed instead on a lowly car driver. Biong Chulyong remained oblivious. That peasant has been sent on a mission that will last months. By the time he returns, I will have one Lady Tuet Lamb's heart. Meanwhile, Hyen Vu was focused entirely on his bowl of rice. Magnificent, savoring true sustenance is the pinnacle of joy in this world. Hung Bao, watching the spectacle, couldn't help but scowl. I've never seen a man eat a simple meal as if he were performing a sacred ritual. Focus, rookie. Our destination is West Shu, the sovereign domain of the Tang clan, the legendary force that consolidated the Tang name. And climbed to the apex of the martial world is the West Shu Tang clan, and they are our current patrons. For this journey, the Tang clan has deployed their own elite guardians and even a high elder to oversee the caravan. The cargo is clearly priceless. Suddenly, a butterfly drifted before the Tang elder. With a lazy wave of his hand, the insect was instantly reduced to ash. His eyes narrowed into lethal slits as they scanned the crowd. Among these drivers, a monstrous aura is being suppressed. Who is the hidden tiger? Just as his gaze was about to lock on a Hyen, head escort Ma, suddenly galloped into his line of sight. Could that suffocating aura have originated from the veteran Ma? Listen well, escorts and porters alike. You carry the honor of the Hyen escort agency on your shoulders. A standard journey to West Shu takes 4 months. We shall conquer it in 45 days. With that command, the caravan surged forward. Hung Bao whispered a final warning to Hyen. Stay close to Ma and stay sharp. The brutality of the road was just beginning. The ordeal wasn't just head escort Ma's relentless drive, but the grueling reality that every porter and warrior had to match the horse's gallop. What left Hung Bao speechless was that Hyen didn't just maintain the pace. He didn't even break a sweat. In a mere 48 hours, the Hyen escort agency reached Mount Bak, and a journey that typically demands 4 days. But at that precise moment, a jagged spear shrieked through the air and plummeted from the heavens. A heartbeat later, a bloodthirsty pack of bandits erupted from the foliage. You've trespassed into our domain. Surrender the cargo and vanish, or prepare for a shallow grave. Hung Bao Siknan Farantiko To Hyen. Keep your head. This is common. Once they pocket their tribute, they'll scurry away. But when presented with 2 heavy strings of copper, the bandit leader severed them with a single contemptuous slash. Who gives a damn about this meager pocket change? We're claiming the entire haul. He brandished his blade and charged with a roar. The battlefield ignited instantly. Duong Hao Gwyn, the Tang clan elder who had sensed the foul wind since the start, finally spoke. You aren't common thieves. Who is the puppet master pulling your strings? The leader gave a wicked sneer. We are the titans of the green forest. Being slaughtered by us is a privilege, old man. Duong Hao Gwyn let out a frigid huff. A lethal needle hissed from his fingertip, burying itself deep within a massive tree trunk. In the same instant, a gory puncture wound erupted in the bandit leader's chest. You dare covet the treasures of the Tang clan? Do you truly believe you're worthy of even breathing near them? A hail of war needles followed in rapid, lethal succession. Every last outlaw was snuffed out where they stood. But the victory was short-lived as a fresh, disciplined force emerged from the woods. Relying on mere bandits was a gamble, especially with a Tang elder in the mix. The time for games is over. Seeing the true enemy advance, Duong Hao Gwyn barked orders for a final, desperate stand. Even if the Hyen escort agency is reduced to ash, this cargo must reach the Tang manor. You're the elite guards I handpicked. If you must die, die protecting the shipment. Both sides collided in a frantic, soul-crushing melee. But unlike the skirmish with the bandits, the Hyen front line buckled under the sheer pressure. Even their most seasoned warrior was left mangled and bleeding. Just as a killer lunged to deliver the final blow, a streak of blinding sword light erupted, rumbling with the fury of 1,000 thunders. In the blink of an eye, the assailant was reduced to nothing but scorched ash. That violent detonation sent a shockwave of terror through the nearby ranks. What was that? Did the gods strike him down with lightning? Hung Bao, the only witness to the truth, turned desperately toward Hyen. Save them. Go now. Why? I only intervened to keep you alive. Why should I bleed for the rest? Because they are lives worth saving. Please. Hyen let out a long, weary sigh. I don't understand your sentiment, but since you've asked, I'll indulge you one last time. The carnage had reached its peak. Duong Hao Gwyn, your pathetic trinkets and needles can't touch us. Drop the goods and crawl away, or face execution. A cold shiver raced down Duong Hao Gwyn's spine. But it wasn't the threat that froze his blood. It was the phantom blur that streaked past him. The moment Hyen's boots hit the dirt, every remaining enemy on the field disintegrated into a cloud of dust. News of the total annihilation quickly reached the ears of a high-ranking woman. Did you not claim? A single Purple Hall squad was more than sufficient to dismantle the Hyen escorts, and that old fossil, Duong Hao Gwyn, the man known as the master of the Purple Hall, Lu Si, bowed his head in a frantic apology. Our intelligence was flawed. A hidden dragon walks among them. I shall personally. Yumani cut him off with a sharp gesture. I will investigate this anomaly myself. I want to see this master with my own eyes. While Yuman, he prepared to hunt. The ghost who erased her elite squad. The focus shifted to the Yu clan. Though not of the 5 great families, they rival any noble house, commanding a third of global trade and ruling through absolute wealth. Intelligence regarding the Sichuan Tang clan and their secretive escort mission reached the inner sanctum. Have we identified the cargo? The butler nodded solemnly. The Sichuan Tang clan collaborated with Thunder Manor to synthesize thunderbombs. 5 wagons are being ferried to their stronghold via the Hyen escorts. This revelation stunned Yuman Ho, the clan patriarch. So the remnants of the Thunder sect actually revived the Thunder Bomb? 5 full carts? History dictates that is enough firepower to erase multiple provinces from a map. As he spoke, he casually swatted a bird from the sky with a flick of his finger. We must seize the bombs and the formula by any means. The butler wavered. However, the young lady has already mobilized the Purple Hall. She has likely already intercepted them at the Bin Chuan Pass. Elsewhere, though the Hyen escorts survived thanks to Hyen Vu's godlike power, the cost was staggering. With their warriors decimated, the mission was on the brink of collapse. Once we clear Mao Bin Chuan, we must seek reinforcements from another agency. Duan Hao Gwyn instantly vetoed the idea. This mission belongs to us alone. Zhongtuk Gis Gao. You trust this priceless haul to a broken agency? A local firm would be more reliable. Besides, Uncle, do you not still have your heavenly thunder? Duan Hao Gwyn let out a heavy, knowing sigh. It seems the boy has misunderstood everything. It was expected. Even the elder had barely perceived the reality of the strike. To the novice, there was nothing to see. The elder's gaze shifted toward the silent porter. If the eyes of the Tang clan serve me, the heavenly thunder that purged those villains came from that sword-bearing porter. While Duong Tit Kai stood paralyzed by the claim. Duong Hao Gwyn stepped toward Hyen Vu with a deep bow. May I ask, young hero, to which legendary sect do you owe your peerless martial arts? Hyen Vu met him with a wall of silence. The moon shadow recluse never offered me the grace of teacher. He simply cast us into that living hell. The power I wield was forged in the furnace of 1,000 death matches over a decade. It belongs to me alone. His cold declaration carried the weight of absolute truth. Duong Hao Gwyn's expression twisted into a mask of grim fury. You dare suggest your strength was conjured from thin air? I am your senior in the martial path and a high elder of the Tang clan. Learn your place, boy. Chen Xing a leto escalito, hung bao frantico interven. Senior, forgive him. My friend was a mountain hermit for too long and knows nothing of etiquette. I will personally correct him. Duong Hao Gwyn hesitated. Is this merely the arrogance of a youth blessed with raw, untamed talent? Regardless, the perilous journey ahead demands such a monstrous force. Furthermore, the porter seems to yield only to Hung Bao's influence. Finally, the elder reached a strategic conclusion. As of this moment, you will replace head escort Ma and take command of this caravan. In exchange, you, the master of heavenly thunder, must pledge your blade to our survival. The veteran head escort offered a solemn nod to Hung Bao. The fate of this mission is in your hands. I must gallop back to the Hainan escort agency to summon reinforcements. Lead them well. After a moment of heavy deliberation, Hung Bao accepted the mantle of leadership. Yet Duong Tit Kai could not shake a gnawing sense of dread. That humble blue-robed porter has truly reached the pinnacle of the heavenly thunder. Thus, under Hung Bao's command, the battered Hainan escort agency pressed on. Meanwhile, head escort Ma rode like a man possessed, desperate to reach the agency and report the lethal ambush. No matter Hyen Vu's godlike strength, a sustained siege would eventually bury them all. Suddenly, a ripple in the air made his skin crawl. Before he could draw steel, a jagged iron sickle tore through his skull. The assassin was a phantom of the ghost-faced hand. The elite executioners serving the blood demon. The messenger has been silenced. The Zhao family manor is next on the butcher's block. Simultaneously, Zhao Na Huyen was deep in study, poring over scrolls. Lord, your fatigue is showing. Perhaps rest is wise, the butler whispered. Na Huyen's gaze remained fixed. The path of duty is like cultivation. A moment of hesitation is a lifetime of regression. We continue. As his brush hovered, a single, ominous drop of ink splattered across the parchment. His eyes ignited with a sharp, lethal light. His killing intent flooded the room. In the blink of an eye, the symphony of clashing steel erupted throughout the estate. Realizing they were under siege, the head escort unsheathed his blade to join the fray, but not Hyen held him back. The presence I feel lurking in the shadows. That is a calamity beyond your reach. You cannot win this fight. There's a far more vital mission only you can fulfill. Moments later, the head escort dragged a bewildered Zhao Nan into Zhao Tuet Lam's chambers. Tuet Lam, move. We're escaping this slaughter now, under the veil of chaos. The head escort led a small, desperate group through a secret passage. In the courtyard, Zhao Na Huyen slowly leveled his spear. With a majestic sweep, the ground shattered, sending a shockwave that leveled everything in its path. The thunderous detonation drew every ghost-faced assassin like moths to a flame. That is Hebei's greatest spearman, Zhao Na Huyen, ripped the head from his shoulders. News of the onslaught reached the fugitives. Zhao Tuet Lam stumbled, looking back in agony. Will father truly survive this? The head escort pushed her forward without mercy. Do not falter. Your father is a legend in Hebei. No mortal in this province can bring him down. He then turned to their allies with a desperate plea. I beg the soaring dragon hall to escort us through this nightmare. Bion Mylam stepped forward, her voice cold. Impossible. We must return to the Alliance to report this catastrophe. Bion Chulyong gaped at his sister. Have you lost your mind? Did you not witness the level of their martial arts? We are the only ones who can warn the Alliance of this rising darkness. As the twin dragons argued, swayed by Mylam's cold logic, the head escort pinned his final, fading hope on a different savior. He sought the enigmatic porter, who had effortlessly crushed the bandits at Mount Hyen, the ghost known as Hyen Vu. Once the groups fractured and went their separate ways, the head escort proposed a desperate gamble, regrouping with the main caravan. Zhao Tuet Lam's heart bled for her father. Yet she knew that finding Hyen Vu was their only prayer for survival. Meanwhile, broken and drenched in blood, Zhao Na Huang gasped, "Who are you? Why target my family?" A derisive, bone-chilling laugh echoed from the shadows. Do you truly think I'd grant you the mercy? Thought of an answer before you die? Before the echoes faded, a hand plunged into Not Hwen's skull with the ease of a blade through silk. The next morning, a figure sat amidst the smoking ruins. So this was the proud Zhao Manor. Efficient work, but where are my pets? Shadow Strike, leader of the ghost-faced hands, knelt low. They are currently hunting the rats who escaped during the initial purge. Still, my lord, I must ask, why waste your might on such a trivial target? The man erupted into a wicked, manic laughter. Do you have any idea what the Moon Shadow Recluse represents to me? He was the only rival who dared to stake his life against my ambition. He paused, eyes gleaming. The Blood Demon and the Moon Shadow Recluse are two sides of a cursed fate. Now, only I remain to claim the prize. Years ago, he chose the Zhao family, manor as the sanctuary to sabotage my plan of forging 100 elites. Therefore, isn't the first step to dismantle his every design? Should I begin my purge here? Elsewhere? As the head escort spurred his horse forward, a chilling premonition took hold. Damn it, they've closed the gap. Just a few more miles. If we reach the main caravan, we might survive this. Pushed to his limit, Zhao made a grim sacrifice. I'll buy you time. Ensure Tuet Lam reaches sanctuary before his final breath could leave his lungs. A jagged blade tore through his chest. There was no reprieve for morning. The next lethal strike lunged toward Zhao Tuet Lam's throat. In that heartbeat of absolute despair, the head escort threw himself into the line of fire, shielding her with his own body. A catastrophic, fatal blow. In that harrowing moment, Zhao Tuet Lam understood the weight of their sacrifice. Tears cascaded down her face as reality set in. They'd been hunted like animals to this very spot. Had her father already been slaughtered too? The commander of the ghost-faced hands leveled his steel at her. Impressive that you fled this far, girl, but your journey ends in the dirt. Just as the blade descended, a bolt of heavenly thunder shrieked from the firmament, obliterating the sword as Hyen Vu materialized before her. Mere moments earlier, while guarding the heavy cargo, a desperate cry for mercy had pierced through the wind. He had recognized that frantic voice in an instant. It was Zhao Tuet Lam. Driven by instinct, he had bridged the distance just in time. The ghost-faced assassins lunged at him in a frenzied swarm. Without a hint of urgency, Hyen Vu placed a calming hand upon Zhao Tuet Lam's head. She felt the paralyzing terror and bone-deep fatigue, drained from her soul in a single breath. Dry your eyes. The slaughter ends here. With those words, he ascended into the air, his blade sang only once. A second later, the ghost-faced hands disintegrated like ash in a gale. Zhao Tuet Lam stood paralyzed, a silent witness to the divine carnage. Hyen Vu, how is such power even possible? If she possessed such a force, could she have saved her family from the blade? After burying her brother and the loyal head escort, Tuet Lam stared into the hollow void. With her father and brother gone, what reason was there to endure this world alone? Hearing her despair, Twin Hyen Vu was cast back into his own nightmare. He too had crawled out of the abyss alone, and the first hand to offer him warmth was Zhao Tuet Lam's. After a heavy silence, he spoke, live to honor the memory of the fallen, and forge a path toward what you truly desire. Upon learning her resolve to join the escort group, he didn't hesitate, seizing her firmly by the wrist. Then we depart this instant. Without another word, he swept her up and took to the skies. He sought no grand gesture or display of gallantry. He simply intended to purge the stench of that graveyard from her senses as quickly as possible. But to Tuet Lam, that single, decisive act carried more weight than 1,000 hollow comforts. Eventually, She broke the silence with a question. How did you achieve such monstrous strength? We're nearly the same age. He replied with a chilling flatness. Slay enough nightmares, gamble your life enough times, and you'll inevitably become this. Can you tell? Tell me more the hell you survived? He went silent, his gaze fixed on the horizon. If I were to recount that descent into madness, I would have to start with my 99 dead brothers and the moon shadow recluse. That bastard died before I could claim my vengeance. But I will tell you the rest when the time is right. After soaring across the landscape for what felt like an eternity, the two finally intercepted the caravan. But when the warriors heard the catastrophic news, that both the Zhao Manor and the Hyen agency had been erased, a suffocating gloom descended upon them. Even Hung Bao felt the weight of the mission buckling. The previous ambush had already shattered their resolve. Now, with this news, they had reached the absolute nadir of despair. We must pivot. This mission must be completed regardless. We need that reward. With those funds, we won't just survive. We'll have the means to start anew. We might even resurrect the Hyen escort agency from the ashes. Besides, we still have Lady Zhao to protect. Hearing this, Tuet Lam straightened her spine. He was right. This was no time for the luxury of grief. People were still looking to her for hope. Once the dust settled, she would cultivate her power, just like Twin Huyen Vu, and exact bloody retribution for her father, her brother, and every soul lost to the Zhao Manor. As the carts rolled on, Tuet Lam found her mind circling back to Huyen Vu's cryptic words about hunting monsters. She couldn't suppress her curiosity. Huyen Vu, can you tell me more about those monsters? Instead of an answer, Twin Huyen Vu posed a quiet, piercing question. Is the moon shadow recluse truly in his grave? The world says so, she replied. They believe he breathed his last 15 years ago. Hung Bao cut into the conversation. I've never bought it. There are far too many holes in the story. Every rumor has a root, but his death has none. Yet the entire martial world accepts it as gospel truth. It's almost as if someone meticulously seeded the lie to ensure no one would ever go looking for him. Tuet Lam's brow furrowed. Who would benefit from such a deception? Hung Bao lowered his voice to a whisper. It's purely conjecture, but the most logical architect of that lie is the moon shadow recluse himself. Perhaps he needed to vanish into the shadows. Twin Huyen Vu felt a sudden, sharp clarity wash over him. Suddenly, Jiang Huwan's voice cut through the air. Everyone halt. Something isn't right. A group of men hurried toward us. Our carriage is mired in the mud. We must proceed on foot. Might our mistress seek sanctuary within your ranks? Their tone was draped in exaggerated humility. Jiang Huwan's eyes sharpened as he analyzed the emblem on the coach. It was the crest of the Yu Manor. In light of the recent ambushes, word of our cargo must have reached hungry ears. Could a carriage from the prestigious Yu Manor truly break down by mere coincidence? Just then, a velvet voice resonated. Pray, forgive the intrusion. I'm Yumanhi. The moment she stepped into view, the entire escort crew seemed under a spell. Even the veteran Jiang Huwan was momentarily blindsided by her ethereal beauty, his suspicions dissolving. Seizing the lapse in his guard, he gracefully claimed a seat atop a wagon laden with the shipment. I shall trust my safety to your capable hands for the remainder of the trek. Though Jiang Huwan remained blind to her sinister agenda, the looming presence of Twin Huyen Vu served as a silent anchor for his doubts. He signaled his consent and commanded the caravan to advance. A triumphant smirk played on her lips. The old fool crumbled with pathetic ease. Still, she did not lower her guard. With a subtle gesture, she commanded her retainers to switch to secret sound transmission for their conspiracy. By her count, there were only 30 men, and in her estimation, Jiang Huwan was the only warrior worth noting among them. She found the situation laughable. Such a pathetic force tasked with guarding 5 wagons of thunderbombs? Both the explosives and the legendary sky-shattering thunder were the forbidden fruit of the Thunder sect, weapons capable of erasing entire sects from existence. They once elevated the sect to godhood, only to trigger its total annihilation centuries ago. The Thunder sect was a ghost of history, yet here were its deadly blueprints resurfacing. Humanity suspected the Purple Hall squad had been vaporized by these bombs, but the battlefield lacked the telltale signs of fire. So, who possessed the power to repel and slaughter the elite Purple Hall? As her predatory gaze scanned the group, one figure stood out like a jagged stone, clad in common rags, yet wearing a blade at his hip. He lacked the refined air of a martial master. So why couldn't she tear her eyes away? Then the realization hit her. Since her arrival, he hadn't spared her a single glance. How could any man be so stone-cold toward her beauty? Determined to shatter his composure, she moved to confront him directly. The moment Twin Huyen Vu finally deigned to look her way, the absolute, chilling void in his eyes struck her like a physical blow. Was this the sting of true humiliation? A fire of spite ignited in her heart as she tracked Hyen Vu's every move. I will see you broken at my feet. As darkness fell, the caravans circled for the night. Zhao Tuet Lam approached, balancing a bowl of steaming broth. Hyen Vu Appa, you must eat before you rest. Before she could finish, He glided into their space. As she brushed past Hyen Vu's shoulder, she whispered a challenge. Into the woods, boy. Follow me if you dare. I shall reveal every secret you crave, assuming you can actually keep pace. A mask of arrogance settled on her face. If he failed this simple test, he would be unworthy of her interest. But before the thought could even form, Hyen Vu was standing directly in her path. Their eyes locked, and she let out a sharp, reflexive gasp. The sound alerted her retainers, who came charging from the shadows. He could only stare in paralyzed disbelief. Within the Yu family, her movement techniques were unrivaled. How could a mere laborer outpace her so effortlessly? Who? What kind of monster are you? Hyen Vu met her question with a wall of silence. He demanded the location of the Moonshadow recluse. Speak. My soup is losing its heat. When she confessed her ignorance, he turned his back with utter disdain, but a wave of servants rushed forward to cut him down, before their leader could even clear his scabbard. Hyen Vu vanished into the thin night air. He stood rooted to the spot, trembling. How is such speed even humanly possible? A phantom breeze brushed past. In the time it took Zhao Tuet Lam to blink, the soup bowl had been snatched from her fingers. Acceptable. The broth is still warm. She looked around, bewildered. Hyen Vu Appa, when did you return? And where is the noble lady? Who cares? If she wishes to trail us, let her. Though I suppose I should admit, Lady Yu is undeniably striking. Zhao Tuet Lam's face burned a deep crimson. I have to ask, do you find me beautiful as well? He spared her a fleeting look. Not as beautiful as the woman who just left. However, I have no taste for beautiful women. They are usually nothing more than a herald for deadly catastrophe. Would you like me to refine the next chapter of this chronicle for you? In the shadows, he had reached a chilling conclusion. The phantom who had decimated the Purple Hall squad was undeniably this man. Yet, she required more data. Beyond the name Hyen Vu, he was an enigma wrapped in common rags. Unaware that the Hainan caravan was nearing its breaking point, Zhao Tuet Lam couldn't escape the echo of his warning. Beautiful women herald death. What kind of purgatory had Hyen Vu Appa survived to speak with such ice? Hung Bao broke her trance. My lady, keep your guard up. The closer we draw to our destination, the more the very air seems to thicken with malice. Jiang Hu sensed the impending storm even more acutely. By tomorrow, we reach the Tang clan's ancestral gates. That makes the Black Shadow Gang our final, most lethal hurdle. Over the last decade, that gang had risen like a plague. They were now the only syndicate in Sichuan daring enough to spit in the Tang clan's face. Suddenly, a roar of chaos erupted in the distance. Jiang Huan's eyes turned to flint. Has a traitor within the Tang clan sold us out? Hyen Vu est censé expanded. 100 killers lie in wait. A shiver of pure dread raced down Yumanhe's spine. Pinpointing a century of enemies through internal energy alone, it was a feat of a god. Without fail, dozens of cutthroats lunged from the thickets seconds later. Jiang Huan's voice boomed. Form ranks. Battle stations. Hyen Vu, stay where you are. Protect the wagons. This Black Shadow filth is ours to bury. The slaughter began. While Hung Bao's knuckles were white, Hyen Vu remained a statue of calm. The old man and his kin will prevail. He was right. The meteoric rise of the Black Shadow Gang was a mere flicker, when held against the ancient, lethal brilliance of the Tang clan elders. Yumanhe's composure began to crumble. Had they drastically undervalued the Tang's might? 50 assassins were being erased like ink in the rain. Even with 50 hidden reinforcements, victory was a hollow dream. A tactical withdrawal was the only path left. But how could she signal the retreat without exposing her hand? As she wavered in the shadows, Hyen Vu's voice drifted to her, a ghost in the wind. If you intend to signal them, I shall not interfere. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Could he truly intercept their secret sound transmissions? Their plot of blood and plunder was laid bare. How could a mere mortal pierce a private transmission? His tone dropped to a sub-zero chill. Vanish now, or be buried. The sheer weight of his intent left her, rooted to the spot in terror. She immediately signaled her clandestine operatives. Abort the mission. Full retreat. She couldn't fathom why he was granting them mercy. He hadn't shown such restraint since the Yu manor bloodbath. What truly unsettled him was a different killing intent nearby, one far more jagged and potent. Meanwhile, Jiang Huan had finished crushing the Black Shadow Vanguard. He was oblivious to the true predators watching from the dark. Everything proceeds as envisioned. The scouts are dead. While they bask in false victory, the Yakan squad will strike. With Hyen Vu's silent permission, the Yu Manor's infiltrators slipped away into the night. However, that festering, murderous aura continued to grate on his nerves. Darkness swallowed the camp. My lady, the Yu mistress intends to pitch her tent beside the wagons. Shall I arrange for you to share her quarters? She offered a soft, resolute refusal. No, I have no desire for solitary comforts. To be honest, I once viewed the Hyen escort agency with a degree of naivety. I thought it was just a matter of moving crates from one city to another. But I see the truth now. This world is peaceful only because porters and escorts trade their lives for it. As a member of this agency, I will sleep in the dirt with my people. And I've made my decision. I am finished being the pampered young lady of the Zhao Manor. I will become the leader of the Hyen escort agency. As the words left her, Twin Hyen Vu materialized behind them like a phantom. Hyen Vu Appa, do you have something to add? He paused, his gaze unreadable. If you wish to lead, start by learning how to carry the weight of a porter. The ensuing silence was thick and uncomfortable. Then, Hyen Vu Appa, I beg you to teach me the way of a master porter. Soon, the camp was claimed by sleep. From the void, an eye burning with lethal intent snapped open. Yakan squad, mobilize. The Yakan were a nightmare unit forged by the Black Shadow Gang, masters of silent assassination who moved as a single, killing shadow. As they crept closer, Twin Hyen Vu had already mapped their heartbeats in the dark. Just as the leader signaled the slaughter, a massive hand clamped around his throat like a vice. The other assassins surged forward, utterly blind to their leader's demise. One killer lunged for Jiang Huan's throat. A generous gift. We'll take those thunderbombs now. In the end, they were merely more fodder for the Black Shadow Gang. His blade whistled through the air, only to be met by a wall of unyielding steel. Staring into the face of his reaper, the assassin frantically hissed a sound transmission. What is the meaning of this? Why does this porter still draw breath? The response did not come from his ally, but from the cold lips of Twin Hyen Vu. The Yakan squad, is that your name? It is now a memory. Go and rejoin your fallen brothers in hell. A single, thunderous arc of lightning cleaved through the midnight sky. As the void of death claimed him, the assassin could not grasp how the Black Shadow Gang's masterstroke had ended in such pathetic ruin. The escort party jolted awake as the earth itself shuddered. When the heavens happened, why is the ground littered with the dead? Every stunned gaze fixed upon Twin Hyen Vu. The boy, he must have been our guardian in the dark. His patience for mercy had finally reached its end. From that night onward, shielded by Twin Hyen Vu's formidable presence, no shadow dared to cross their path. They reached their goal unscathed. Yen Vu, Hung Bao began, once we set foot in Sichuan, your work will truly begin. Noticing Hyen Vusha Gonfusin, Hung Bao Kuladit. Near the Tang clan's ancestral seat lies the No family estate. Didn't you mention your brother-in-arms? Bore the name No? If he meant that much to you, shouldn't you pay your respects to his kin? The echoes of No Iakaji's final, ragged breaths flooded Hyen Vu's mind. We depart for the No estate immediately. After their safe arrival at the majestic Tang clan manor. In the heart of Sichuan, Zhao Tuet Lam watched with a heavy heart as Jiang Huan settled the remaining escort debt as promised. Her soul was a tempest of grief and resolve. The legacy of the Zhao family manor, along with everyone she ever loved, had been reduced to ash. Now, as the newly minted leader of the Hyen escorts, this first payment felt heavier than gold. Hung Bao Shen set her in Dumoy. Leader, keep your chin up. A new dawn is coming. She brushed away a stray tear. My thanks, Master Hung Bao. I will find the strength to protect the family I have left. Meanwhile, Yu Manhwa and her retinue had also reached the gates of the Tang Manor. It's a disgrace we lost the thunderbombs. Hall Master, shall we retreat to the capital? Yu Manhwa dismissed the idea with a sharp gesture. If those bombs have truly returned, the world will soon be screaming for them. The Yu family never walks away empty-handed. Besides, the prize I covet most is that man. She was blissfully unaware that she wasn't the only one enchanted by the enigma of Twin Hyen Vu. Those he had snatched from the jaws of death watched the terrifyingly powerful young hero with a mixture of awe and unease. But Twin Hyen Vu had no room for their stares. He had a blood oath to fulfill for Yakaji. He vaulted onto the rooftops, drawing a sharp breath of the mountain air. He detected a familiar resonance in the distance, an aura identical to Yakaji's. At twilight, the agency graciously declined the Tang clan's hospitality and secured a local inn. Where are you two venturing in such haste? We'll provide answers upon our return. Hung Bao called back, his voice tinged with uncertainty. As they passed, Tuan Hyen Vu reached out and rested his hand upon Tuet Lam's head. She stood frozen. Was this his silent way of acknowledging her? A sudden, radiant warmth bloomed within her chest. After their quiet farewells, the pair set out for the No family estate. Before long, Hung Bao's instincts flared. Glancing back, he spotted Yumanhe's group trailing them like hungry ghosts. That noble lady clearly hasn't learned the meaning of a graceful exit. She has no inkling of our destination, yet she persists in her pursuit. Tuan Hyen Vu wordlessly adjusted his stride, observing Hung Bao's endurance beginning to fracture. He slowed his pace and began channeling his vast internal qi into the man. Hung Bao blinked, his eyes widening. Why do my limbs suddenly feel light as air? If the heavens are granting me strength, then let us fly toward the No manor. Witnessing their sudden, explosive burst of speed, Yumanhe narrowed her eyes in frustration. Has that escort leader been masking his true cultivation this entire time? A moment later, the pair arrived at the gates of the No family estate before Hung Bao could even raise his hand to knock. Yumanhe and her retinue skidded to a halt behind them, gasping for air. As he finally rapped on the wood, Hung Bao felt a cold shiver of dread. For an estate of this magnitude, the lack of sentries was disturbing. The heavy gate groaned open, revealing a titan of a man. The moment Hyen Vu locked eyes with him, the image of No Iakaji flashed in his mind. The resemblance was haunting. State your business. We do not entertain wanderers, the man barked. We aren't here for hospitality, Hung Bao countered. Do you know a man named No Iakaji? The man's eyes turned to glacial shards. A volcanic eruption of internal energy surged from his frame. Who are you to dare speak that name within these walls? Hung Bao Stumbao Bak Badita. It was merely a name. Why was the air suddenly thick with such murderous intent? As the crushing pressure threatened to snap his bones, Hyen Vu stepped forward, unleashing a tidal wave of superior aura to shield his friend. This act of defiance only fanned the man's rage into a blaze. He unsheathed his blade in one fluid motion. You presume to challenge me? Aloli porteur d'art. Got to draw steel against a master. Seeing the situation spiraling toward a bloodbath, Hung Bao shouted, He is my companion, and he was a sworn brother to No Iakaji. His name is Tuan Hyen Vu. He is a child of the mountains. He knows nothing of your social graces. The lethal tension ebbed, if only slightly. I am no Yakan. No Iakaji was my own flesh and blood, my nephew. He vanished into the void 15 years ago. You claim to have seen him? Where is he now? Silence hung heavy. 15 years. Yet, the memories of that abyss felt as fresh as a bleeding wound. Speak, damn you. Mo lak gonzao. Moe o ozi. He has passed from this world. A berserk fury exploded. No Yakan brought his heavy blade down in a horizontal arc aimed straight at Hyen Vu's neck. Hung Bao was paralyzed. Yumanhe's heart skipped a beat. In that fraction of a second, she channeled her chi, desperate to intervene. But just as she lunged to save him, a massive hand caught her shoulder, rooting her to the spot. I am unharmed. Do not meddle. Her eyes remained wide with terror. Hyen Vu, are you truly unhurt? It was impossible. How could a mortal survive that? Simultaneously, Enegio Lak constud frozen in disbelief. The porter had neutralized the blow using nothing but a shroud of protective chi, offering no counterstrike. Could a mere stranger truly carry the legacy of Iakaji? A thunderous voice commanded from the shadows. Lak Khan, stand down. You brainless ox. Is this how we treat a bearer of news? How many times must I warn you? Not to leash your savage temper? It was the lord of the manor, No Bakhon. Lak Khan bowed his head in shame. Once Hyen Vu had recounted the grim tale of Iakaji's end, No Bakhon's shoulders slumped under a mountain of guilt. So, the prophecy was true. I beg for your forgiveness. Please, honor us by stepping inside. Meanwhile, Zhao Tuet Lam found her mind circling back to Hyen Vu Guji's earlier actions. What was the meaning behind his touch? A cacophony of violence shattered her thoughts. What is that? A riot? Our brothers are being slaughtered downstairs. A flash of cold steel reflected on the walls. A man's scream was cut short as he hit the floor, as the escorts scrambled to draw their weapons. Zhao Tuet Lam intercepted them. Back to your quarters. That is an order. Hyen Vu Guji isn't here to protect you. Do not invite their wrath. Once they retreated, she let out a shaky breath. Heaven be praised. We aren't the primary targets. But who are these monsters? Who dare to turn a public into a slaughterhouse? You dare raise a hand against the great heaven sect and expect to see the sunrise? The Tang clan will hunt the Black Shadow jackals to the ends of the earth. The enemy leader let out a mocking sneer. Are you blind? The moment they saw our Black Shadow colors, your allies fled like whipped curs. Zhao Tuet Lamb's blood ran cold. These are the very same Black Shadow wolves that had been stalking their caravan. Our master offered a merciful surrender. You chose to die for the Tang. Now, not a single soul leaves this inn alive. The scream of clashing metal filled every corner of the building. In recent moons, this carnage had become the new law. The Black Shadow gang was devouring the province, mocking the Tang clan and crushing anyone too weak to resist. Desperate to escape the crossfire, Zhao Tuet Lam signaled her people to move. She had no inkling that a pair of predatory eyes had already locked onto her. The syndicate's ringleaders materialized before her, blocking her path with predatory ease. Who would have guessed such a divine beauty was stashed away in this decrepit rat hole? Within moments, the rest of the pack finished their butchery and converged. Big Brother's taken a liking to this one. Let me persuade her to join us. A thug draped a heavy arm over Zhao Tuet Lam's shoulder. You clearly have no idea what fate awaits those marked by the Black Shadow gang. In that heartbeat, Tuet Lam struck. She seized his wrist with a vice-like grip, pivoted with lethal grace, and snapped the bone like a dry twig. He was slammed into the dirt with a sickening thud. The leader didn't flinch. He simply let out a dark, jagged smirk. I took you for a fragile blossom, but it seems you have thorns. So, tell me, who are you? She stood with unyielding pride. I am the eldest daughter of the Zhao Manor and leader of the Hyen escort agency, Zhao Tuet Lam. A chorus of mocking laughter erupted. A mere brat claiming to lead the Hyen escorts? Utterly precious. This just makes the breaking process much more entertaining. Hemmed in by steel, she began to calculate her odds. Survival demanded flight. She ignited her chi and bolted into the night. In the shadows of the No estate, Tuen Huyen Vu stepped into the inner sanctum. Had Iakaji survived, he would be entering his 20th year. The same age as me? Hung Bao's eyes widened at the revelation. He's only 20? Good heavens, I'm nearly twice his age. Then No Bakhon spoke, his voice trembling. How did my Iakaji meet his end? A heavy shroud of ancient grief descended upon the manor. Tuen Huyen Vu's voice was a low, solemn vibration. Iakaji was my brother-in-arms, my truest friend. We swore an oath that the survivor would find the other's kin. In that abyss, no one dared to assume they would see another dawn. He told me that if he fell, tell my father his son died a failure of filial piety. Those were the final words he breathed. He traded his life so that I might live. No Bakhon's eyes glistened with an agonizing blend of sorrow and pride. To die for a brother. That is my son's legacy. The ghost of their final parting hung in the air. After a long, pensive silence, the lord of the manor looked at Tuen Huyen Vu. He saw a boy who had endured the same fires as his son. In that moment, he reached a monumental decision. From this day forward, I claim you as my own son. The stoic young warrior met the declaration with a profound silence. Wait, can life-altering bonds be forged so abruptly? He was nearly cleaved by a blade just moments ago. But when Tuen Huyen Vu gave a steady nod and replied, I obey, father, No Bakhon's grief shattered into a thunderous, boisterous laugh. A true brother to Iakaji indeed. Such peerless spirit. For 15 years, my house has lacked a son. I cannot remain idle tonight. Prepare a feast fit for a king. And just like that, the manor ignited with a rare, vibrant energy. Amidst the celebration, Hung Bao learned the tragic history of the No family. 15 years ago, when Iakaji vanished, the No manor was a desperate, minor clan clinging to hope. No Bakhon searched every corner of the earth. But in his darkest hour, a spectral master appeared and bestowed the lost arts of the moon shadow recluse. Pain became the fuel for his ascension. Through blood and discipline, the manor rose to glory. But recently, the Black Shadow gang began a ruthless campaign of annexation, dragging the No manor into a war for survival. We live with one hand on our swords. Forgive our earlier hostility. We mistook you for the Black Shadow's dogs. Hung Bao's mind raced as the pieces fit together. These were the same vultures who had targeted their caravan. While the wine flowed and the others spoke. Hyen Vu est censé drifter d'elsewhere. The girl's situation was spiraling toward a lethal climax. Time was a luxury he no longer had. He sought No Bakhon's blessing and vanished like a ghost before their very eyes. Elsewhere, Zhao Tuet Lam's internal reserves were running dry as the Black Shadow gang closed the net. At this pathetic level, you call yourself a leader? Surrender now and spare yourself the agony. Just as the executioner's blade began its downward arc, an invisible explosion of chi erupted, hurling the attacker back. Curse you, wench. Where did that power come from? Only then did Tuet Lam realize. Huyen Vu Appa had secretly channeled a reservoir of his own internal energy into her. Another man lunged from the shadows. The captain bellowed, "Stay your hand. Don't kill her before we've had our fill of her." They were blissfully unaware. Zhao Tuet Lam braced for the ultimate sacrifice, a self-destructive surge of her remaining life force. The borrowed power had flickered out. If shame was the only outcome, she would choose death. Just as the killer lunged again. Strip your pride away first. Instead of recoiling, she lunged toward the cold steel. "Father, brother, forgive my failure to avenge you. Forgive this daughter. For seeking such a pathetic escape." Just as the blade's edge grazed her throat, a silhouette materialized in the void. Fortunate that my timing remains impeccable. The moment Shin Hyung-yu parried the death blow, his retaliation erupted with a vengeance. The vermin were erased in a heartbeat. A grim, gray haze settled over the carnage. "What in the heavens were you thinking?" Shin Hyung-yu's voice cut through the air like a razor. Zhao Tuet Lam was instantly flooded with shame for her desperation. She never imagined that in the final flicker of her life, the only face to haunt her thoughts would be Kongwu Oppa. A heavy sigh resonated from the shadows nearby. What a pitiful waste. That strange protection she carried has withered away. Her spirit is broken. We were a hair's breadth from victory. And then this little brat intervenes. After absorbing the harrowing details from Zhao Tuet Lam, Shin Hyung-yu let out a breath of icy relief. There won't be a second chance for them. Before Zhao Tuet Lam could utter a word, a thug's patience snapped. "Boy, do you have a death wish crossing the Black Shadow Gang?" As the threat echoed, she witnessed a transformation. Pure, unadulterated rage ignited on Hyung-yu's face. He moved like a bolt of jagged lightning. Before the syndicate could blink, half their number lay cold and lifeless. A captain retreated, his face a mask of pure terror. "This is impossible. No mortal is this fast." The very foundations of the earth began to tremble and moan. Jagged stone and soil swirled upward like a celestial dragon erupting from the abyss. Zhao Tuet Lam watched, paralyzed in awe. Shin Hyung-yu spoke with a haunting, calm authority. "Behold the second form of the three talents, sword style, Earth Dragon." Meanwhile, back at the No family manor, the atmosphere had been a powder keg for days, strained by the standoff with the Black Shadow Gang. It had been an age, not since these halls felt this pulse of life. But even amidst the revelry, one man remained a fortress of suspicion. Yu Un-bak, a man of cold logic and calculation. He oversaw the manor's inner sanctum, and Shin Hyung-yu's sudden disappearance from the feast gnawed at him. With the Black Shadow Gang circling like wolves, how could they feast while their guest vanished? No Bakhon waved away the silent accusation. "He is as much my flesh and blood as a biological son. Cast your worries aside." However, Yu Un-bak's gaze remained fixed on the dark. The Black Shadow Gang plays a foul game. What if they've sowed a seed of betrayal? Not to feast on your mercy? Is this not the perfect moment for a knife in the dark? As if summoned by his words, two elite divisions of the Black Shadow Gang, the Black and White Altars, surged toward the estate. Tonight, the No legacy is reduced to cinders. The Black Moon Altar leader's roar filled the night. The moment the decree left his lips, a whisper brushed his ear. "You won't live to see those gates." He spun around, searching for the ghost. But a colossal pillar of lightning descended, incinerating him where he stood. As panic rippled through the survivors, two figures stepped from the smoke. No one interrupts my father's celebration. Watching Shin Hyung-yu plunge back into the sea of enemies, Zhao Tuet Lam blinked in utter bewilderment. Since when did Hyung-yu claim a father in this place? As Shin Hyung-yu, once more, unleashed his devastating power, the slaughter was witnessed by a scout patrolling the perimeter. Under Yu Un-bak's strict command, to the scout's eyes, that silhouette was no longer a man. It was a demon lord walking the earth. He scrambled back to the manor, lungs burning. "Lord, the Black and White Moon altars are upon us." While Hung Bao, inhuman, he stood paralyzed. No Bakhon merely offered a grim, knowing nod. "So be it. They seek a final reckoning. Bring me my steel." But the scout's next frantic words stilled every heart in the room. "You're saying they've already been annihilated?" The scout nodded with a manic intensity. "I witnessed the carnage. A single demon tore through them like paper." Just as No Bakhon began to question the sanity of the report, a blur of motion crossed his field of vision. The scout pointed a trembling finger. "I swear it on my life. The demon. He's right there." No Bakhon's face hardened into a mask of fury. "Have you lost your wits? Am I the demon now? Fine, I'll show you the fury of a real monster." "No, the nightmare standing behind you." The scout shrieked. No Bakhon whirled around, coming face to face with Shin Hyung-yu. "I have returned, father. Father."